in 2019, you guys released the Hawkstone Sessions. It breaks our heart that about a month ago, Ronnie Hawkins passed away. You guys were able to work with him and record at his studio. What can you share about that time that you got to spend with him and kind of maybe honor his memory, you know?
Can I kick this off? Well, first of all, Ronnie actually does not have a studio. What he did have was a barn on his property on Stony Lake, which is in the Peterborough area. So he had this barn, and we had performed there a few times for, he did his final party was there, and we had done another event in his barn with Ronnie present. So when we heard he had sold that legendary property, we asked if we could go into the barn and record. Meaning we had to bring all of our recording gear. So we actually had Justin, who's the bass player with us now. He came down, he brought some gear. Brian, obviously did a lot of recording too. So he had gear, and we set up our own gear for all of these things. So it was cool. We really captured the sound in terms of what it was like.
But even taking it beforehand, we got introduced. I'll say a quick little thing. Shout out to Sandy Kilgore, who is the lawyer of Ronnie, who split up his Northern Estate property and helped him sell it off so he can be a little closer to town in Peterborough, just for health and whatnot. And Sandy Kilgore one day he saw us at this place 744, which is also the chicken deli to some of the older crowd that's on Yonge and Eglinton.
Sounds delicious. The
chicken we were performing, great spot, and we were playing there, and then he saw us play, and then he made some crazy excuse for whatever to make to make some party, like an anniversary party, even though his party was his anniversary was 5 months beforehand. And he set up a party at was it the Rose
the Toronto Hunt Club.
The Toronto Hunt Club, and invited out Bobby Curtola, Robbie Lane, and Ronnie Hawkins to come and see us, and just kind of.
Those are some good attendees. I wish I had a party that had attendees like that.
And Bobby Curtola, rest in peace. He unfortunately passed away before the party started. But we ended up meeting Robbie Lane and Ronnie Hawkins. And Robbie Lane is a big mentor of ours, a very, very close friend of ours that we visit and meet every time we come to the area. He was just at our last show at the Horseshoe, and Ronnie, of course, and that's how it kind of started. And Wanda sent us. We were, giving
Wanda's
her a message.
Ronnie's
Ronnie's wife, and shout out to his daughter Leah. She's so sweet to us. Said that Ronnie didn't want to leave when he saw us there at the Hunt Club. Usually goes, she wrote this to us. She goes, when we went to go see Elton John, he wanted to leave halfway through the show. When he came there that one day, he's getting a little older. There was no problem if he wanted to get up and leave, but apparently he just wanted to, watch us and play and
stayed the whole show. Yeah,
he stayed the whole show.
Talked to us afterwards,
and it was just something that just the comments he was giving us and just the praise he was giving us. It was such a confidence booster and let us feel like we belong, doing these things. And fast forward later on in life, we went to a couple of his parties, went to his birthday, visited him at his new place. Johnny was doing some cool stuff. So he was making a documentary about how the influence of Ronnie Hawkins and how John Lennon came to Mississauga. And he's just always been game with just being so freaking awesome with us. And such a sweetheart, and the stories, we'd be sitting there.
So yeah, that ties into the whole Hawkstone sessions, is that we were recording in the barn, and so this kind of thunderstorm was coming in, and we decided, well, we had been there for one day already, and we didn't see Ronnie. We got in the night before, and it was too late, so we didn't go to the house. We just kind of. Anyways, the next morning we set up, we performed, we got the recording gear going, and then we're like, okay, we got to go to the house and see Ronnie. So we walk over to the house, and Ronnie's in his bedroom, and this big storm rolls in and the power goes out. So we're sitting in his bedroom. Okay. It's the four of us, plus Eric Soto, our videographer, and Justin, who's now in the band. He was the sound guy. So we're just all sitting there taking a break. And then obviously Ronnie's just like, well, boys, he reaches under his bed, pulls out this little tray, and it's got all weed on it, all marijuana. And so he starts rolling up a little thing, and we're in this stuffy, dark, dim bedroom. And he rolled something up, and then he starts just talking, telling stories. He starts passing this thing around, and we're hearing stories about Johnny Cash, Bo Diddley, who else was he talking about?
They say something about Lennon too.
Yeah, telling the Lennon stories.
With, Chuck Berry. He's great friends with Jerry Lee Lewis. like all the legends, like telling us about
personal stories,
telling us like Carl Perkins on like cool stories about like when Carl was on like his like last leg, and all of a sudden like like literally on the brink of like suicide, and then the next thing the Beatles release Honey Don't, and next thing he gets this monster check in the mail and he's back to like
he's
crazy
back.
Like stories
for days,
like you never hear. You know what I mean? Johnny Cash is a car salesman. Who's going to tell you when he was a car salesman?
Yeah,
Ronnie
was at the forefront of the whole rock and roll revolution.
Having his club,
front
like
lines.
Buddy Holly before he was even popular. You know what I mean? Like stuff like stories like that. Like I love Ronnie and love the family as well. And big shout out to. And it was just such a sad day when we heard of his passing.
But the memories, like. Being in his bedroom that day, I definitely heard a lot of stories. I almost fainted because there was so much smoke going on in that room.
If there's no thunderstorm, you don't get those stories.
Yeah, no, I know. It was like a stuffy room. He hotboxed the whole room.
Just hearing us like even like playing and just commenting. He's like, I hear you guys playing, 40 days. It's really fast. We're like. He's like, Ronnie, we're
playing it at your speed. Yeah, because he was listening to us in the barn from his bedroom, right? His mobility was not too good at that time. And he just like, you boys playing 40 days, you're playing it too damn fast. And we're like, Ronnie, we're just playing at your speed, on the recording. I'm like, oh, well, all right. So.
No, it was really, really cool. Especially like the memories that we have of the last time we saw him and the embrace that he give us. He was just such a doubt, like having this legend like just be such like one of the boys, you know what I mean? Just talking to him, like he's just no ego, so humble,
and it's crazy,
so beautiful. Man.
It's crazy. One thing about Ronnie was that I noticed the first couple of times we met him, he was very kind of PG. He was a gentleman, to every. Well, he was always a gentleman, but he knew when to turn on what, So if he's at an event, he's kind of Ronnie still, but he's got certain kind of ways of dealing with people. And then it's like, when it's just the boys hanging out, it's like, he's one of the boys, he's telling it, and it's musician to musician, it's not like he's this big guy and we're here. It's like, he saw us as boys, what it's like when you got to, do this and that. It's like, he's talking to you on that level and hearing it and just the people he played with, it's surreal.
When he passed away, the amount of love that you saw from musicians online, it's like some of the biggest names in the world were sharing their stories and their kind words.
There's a really cool band, the Weber Brothers. They actually made a crazy trek from the United States up to visit Ronnie and stayed with him years ago. And Ryan Weber made this amazingly. It's a very long, heartfelt post, and
we're reading it on the drive.
It's worth checking out. The Weber Brothers were probably the closest band to Ronnie in recent years, and they put a lot of time in with Ronnie, and he helped them out so much. So their post was so touching. If you have a chance to read it, it really goes into talking about the character of what Ronnie meant to them, a young band kind of coming up. This
kind of tale of just like driving a snowstorm to meet up with Ronnie, and just Ronnie taking him under his wing and letting him stay in the barn. Like imagine that, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, and being like, you're going to be playing for me, and then having like playing for Ronnie.
They did. They backed him up for all his gigs, Massey Hall, all that stuff. It was the Weber Brothers, these young kids coming up from the States. So that was kind of the guy Ronnie was. It seemed he was just bringing up. He spotted talent, and he would recognize that and bring them into his circle
and embrace them, and just build your confidence, and just like, he was a great guy, a magic man. And even hear like kind of stuff that like Dylan is saying in his documentary about, and there's a. The way he talks about Ronnie, you know what I'm saying? It's like insane. Like, I just feel like sometimes in some cases, Ronnie's like this, like as crazy as all these things, how he brought rock and roll, to our generation and younger. It's like, he's like a hidden gem. And like, until you kind of know really what he's brought and why you are hearing these things on the radio to this day is, a lot of it came from Ronnie. I'd like to think,
especially
in
Canada, he single-handedly brought rock and roll to Canada, like played first rock and roll gig, Hamilton, Ontario, like coming up here. It's So
we'll talk about Ronnie for days, man.
Yeah, I know. We could talk about
that's awesome. Those are great memories.